Okay, so mic on. We will start the session. Welcome everyone, good morning. This is the Digital Building Logbooks and Permit Process for Sustainability workshop. Thank you everyone for coming. Hello, online audience. Welcome as well. So this workshop, I will start to welcome you in doing the agenda, going through some housekeeping and talking about the sustainable goals. And then we will have the presentations. So our first presentation will be from Accord project from Rita Lavica. Then we go to DigiChecks, Jerome Werbroek. And then we go for Check with Maite Toscano. And then Demo Blog with Henk Fischer. And then we go to EUNet for digital building permits, and MSCA DRF with Judith Fogg. Then we have a coffee break. So this is the first part of our agenda. The second part, we will have a bit of interaction with the audience, with Slido, so we will not be only here with people here in the room. We would like to talk also with the online audience. And then we will have a workshop in mirrors. So yes, we will also get information from people online with Mirror. So this workshop is intended also to collect information from the paper we are preparing. So here is a bit of housekeeping on this research. So the research is being conducted by several projects: Accord, Check, DigiChecks, Future Roads. The contact information is from Rita Lavica from VTT. And you are requested to participate in the research that analyzes the sustainability of the digital building permits process and logbooks, taking the UN Sustainable Development Goals as analysis framework. So this is the research. We would take you as a volunteers to participate in this research, but you are free to not accept. So if you don't want to participate, don't join the workshop, but we welcome you. This is an anonymous participation. We will not collect any data. And there is no financial compensation, and the findings will be published in the paper in the proceedings of the Sustainable Places. Okay, so this it's a bit of our housekeeping. Then we go through the sustainable goals. I don't know if you are all familiar, so I will go through them quickly just to put us in the same page, and then we go to the presentations. So it's 17 goals. The first goal is no poverty, so end of poverty in all its forms, everywhere. The goal 2 is zero hunger, the end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition. The third goal is good health and well-being, ensure health lives and promote well-being for all. The fourth goal is quality education, ensure inclusive, equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities. The fifth goal, gender equality, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. The sixth goal, clean water and sanitation, ensure availability and sustainability management of water and sanitation for all. Seventh goal, affordable and clean energy, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all. The eighth goal, decent work and economic growth, promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, employment and decent work for all. The ninth goal, industry, innovation and infrastructure, building resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industrialization and foster innovation. The 10th goal, reduce inequalities within and among countries. 11th goal, sustainable cities and communities, making cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. The 12th, responsible consumption and production, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. 13, climate action, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. 14, life below water, conserve the sustainability use of ocean, seas, and marine resources. 15 goal, life on land, protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems. 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, promote peaceful and inclusive societies, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. And finally, 17, the goal 17 is partnership for the goals. Strengthen the means of implementation and revitalizing the global partnership for sustainable development. So these are the 17 goals that we will try to see synergies between these goals and the digital building permits and logbooks. That's the goal of our session. So now, without further ado, we start the presentations of the project with first presentation from Accord project. Rita Lavica, please.
Okay, good morning everyone. I am Rita Lavikka, a research team leader at VTT Technical Research Center of Finland. And I am the coordinator of Accord Horizon Europe project that started 22 and ends actually next year, August. And it's about digitalizing building permitting and code compliance checking processes. So our vision has been that both the building permit applicants and the building permit authorities would have a kind of transparent and resource efficient building permit process, so that everyone knows what is happening in the process. And to do that, we envision that we should have like a single user interface for both parties, and through that service, online service, you can do compliance checking, various kinds of analysis related to, for example, energy efficiency, carbon reduction, safety, whatsoever. So at the moment, it is usually so that it's only like PDF based, and it's really hard to know whether your design is code compliant. So this is a maturity level of 4 steps. And the first step is this kind of paper or PDF way of doing building permitting. And there you have this manual review. And the second step is this kind of that you have an online service. Your municipality provides you with a service. And you can do this manual review. And this is actually the current way of doing building permitting in many European countries. And now we have at least 2 countries, Finland and Estonia, are showing the way towards this third step, so that you do your design with BIM, at least in bigger projects, and you use this IFC file exchange format to do semi-automated code compliance checking, so that the human will always have the final review and final decision on the result. And then the fourth one, which probably will be the future, means that you could do kind of automatic code compliance checking with human oversight and integrating this building design with city design, and also having machine interpretable regulations. So in the future, they have to be written both for humans and both for computers. That's what we envision. And what has brought us to this third step, Finland and Estonia, is that we have a lot of regulatory push. So from 2026, at least in bigger projects, you have to submit your design in BIM format. And then we have 2 online services that you can use to do various kind of semi-automatic code compliance checkings. And we have had a lot of R&D projects in the countries for last, let's say, 5 years or so. And we are actually quite agile in BIM technology adoption. That has helped a lot. And we have written BIM requirements for the designers, so they know how to do the design in a structured format. And of course, upskilling, it's really a learning path process for everybody. What do you need then for automated code compliance checking is you need to have two streams. The first one, you need to have your design in a structured format, in a standard format. And then the second one is that you need to have your codes and regulations in a machine-readable format. And then you have to match these two. So this is kind of coming in the future. And Accord Scope is both of them. So we are creating educational material, starter packets, for how to start this kind of a journey towards digital building permitting. How do you make your model in a structured format? How do you validate your model? And then we have created this rule formalization tool, which you can use to formulate your rules and regulations into a machine-readable format. Yes, and we are experimenting this in 5 demonstrations. I have one slide about that. So we have Finland and Estonia, UK, Germany, and Spain. We have various use cases ranging from design codes, for example, related to safety or operational safety or accessibility, various building acts and decrees. And we have 9 real-life building projects, renovations and new buildings. And we are using, of course, IFC and GTGML. As an example, I brought here this Finnish demo, so you get a better understanding what we are doing. So we have these kind of use cases that we will be reading basic building data, which you have to put to the National Building Registry. So we will read that data straight from the IFC file. We will then also automate the compliance checking of selected geometry-based requirements regarding accessibility and operational safety. And then the final one is to develop, we have actually already developed it, and test a method for carbon footprint evaluation. We will have, starting 26 in Finland, that once you submit your building design, of course, you always do this kind of carbon footprint evaluation, but when you are handing over the building, you need to calculate the carbon footprint. And here you can see the real-life list of regulations that we are aiming for. So they are existing except for this decree on climate declaration. The actors, as if you were here yesterday, you saw that you need to have lots of participants involved in order to make progress in things. This is the same phenomenon here. So VTT is leading the demonstration, and then we have a company called Cloud Permit that is providing a cloud-based service for us, so where you submit your design. Then we have Solibri, who is providing compliance checking services. Maybe you know Solibri, some of you at least. So these two companies are working to integrate their services. So once, as a building permit applicant, you submit your design, you can then call for the Solibri code compliance checking and kind of validate whether your design is code compliant. And then we have Senate Properties, which is a Finnish state property owner. They will provide access to 2 real cases. One is a courthouse in city of Pori, and the other one is in the city of Vantaa. And the other actors are project main architects. They are kind of learning how to do this design in a structured way. Then we have a BIM coordinator helping in the coordination of various models and municipal building control. And we are arguing that you need to have all these participants in order to make progress. Yeah, there's just a visualization of the coming building. So this is totally a new building, and there will be new building and some renovation. Yeah, and we had really good luck that these projects are due around this time, so we could really do this kind of demonstrations. And then my final slide is about this sustainability, which was the topic of this workshop. And as we are digitalizing building permitting and automating code compliance checking, we are of course helping to enhance the productivity and quality of design, because when you have in a structured format, you can do these various kinds of analyses using software. We are fostering innovation, especially in the software industry, because when you are making these codes into a machine-readable format, you will kind of help other companies to enter the business. So we are kind of, in that way, supporting innovation. And of course, transparency. When you have everything in an online service, you can better see both parties, where we are, and what is the status of your application. And I hope that in the future we can also use this data for analyzing what are the sustainable practices in the industry and how to make them kind of the status quo. And finally, we have created this proof of concept tool for calculating the building LCA based on this IFC file. And that will support calculating the potential of emission reductions, and you can also do various other kinds of analyses supporting circular economy and resource efficiency. Yeah, thank you so much. And you're free to follow us on social media, and we have a lot of contents already on our website, so please go and check. But I think the concept is so that we will run all the presentations now through, and then we will have time for questions and answers. And I will hand to Sharon. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jeroen Werbroek. I'm a postdoc researcher at Ghent University. And I will present to you the DigitX project, which is now in its final year. It's also one of the sister projects presented here today. The project started 3 years ago, and we have 13 partners from 5 European countries, and each one of them is involved in a particular phase which is relevant for checking digital building permits. So we have, of course, the more practical partners. I myself, I'm part of research in Ghent University, and then we go forward into the standardization bodies and into the specialized partners who are working on digitization and more complex, futuristic maybe technologies. The core idea of DigitX is, I think, to provide a high-level vision on how digital building permits could be handled in a digital fashion and automate as much as possible with current days and maybe future or future technologies. So one of the core ideas there is the concept of an ontology. I will talk a tiny bit about it later. And then it's some kind of data model, and then use this data model to model the data project, or to allow other actors which are currently not in the project to model their own building permits and like building or the digital built environment broadly, to use this data model and then take it and use it for their own country-specific, city-specific requirements. They can use this to model it. They can use it to being a non-specialist in this data model. They can use visual languages to provide building blocks and workflows so that they can model them without being able to program, without being able to know how all these data snippets and classes and properties are called. This will be the rules modeling, and then we will have an API, application programming interface, that allows several tools to work with the DigitX framework in a federated way, which means that there is no single bottleneck, but people can create tools, and there will be some selection, some automatic selection on which tool works best, and then these tools will be able to communicate with one another, hopefully. Let's see, that's the ambition at least. We have 3 pilot projects as well, which focus on different phases, on different disciplines within the ICO sector. First one is in Wales. It's about infrastructure, civil engineering. The second one focuses on residential building permits, residential buildings, is located in Madrid. And then the third one is located in Austria, and this is about an office building. And each one of these 3 pilots has different requirements, of course, different usability ideas. And then the idea is that this DigiCheck's ontology is abstract enough to facilitate all these cases, and then we hope when these cases could be covered, then other cases, other pilots or other buildings can be covered as well with different typologies, let's say. The platform will be validated based on these 3 pilots, where different phases of the building life cycle will be covered as well. So for example, we have the preliminary procedures, for example, the construction permits, the back and forth between the authorities to get all the necessary documents to be able to start the building, the construction process. And then during the construction process, we will also we also need to be able to check waste management certifications during the process. And then, of course, after the building has been finished, there is a very long period where different permits or regulations need to be checked still until the end of the life cycle of the building. So we try to cover, let's say, the entire range of typologies and the entire range of the building life cycle. We don't make those ontologies or those data models ourselves, but we want to provide the means in order for other people who are more specialized in this to use this data model and model these different steps. I think this more or less aligns with the image that we saw in the previous presentation in a different way. So we have domain users, we have the standards, the authorities that give the regulations, and then we have people who check the input from the building and the input from the authorities and see if this complies. As said, DigiChecks will be a federated ecosystem. The idea is that we have a best of breed concept. So we just provide the means as a platform of platforms, let's say, where we can build, where other specialists who know their local situations can provide the tools to work on this platform, specialized in their specific case. For example, accessibility or ecology in each of the places of these 3 pilots. And then we will strongly base upon web-based information models, which are called ontologies. For example, W3C linked data standards take a very big role in order to connect these interdisciplinary, because we have a very interdisciplinary topic. This building permits takes everything from GIS, from building data, from I don't know, weather data. Whatever you need to check, you should be able to check it. So that's why we need to take a discipline agnostic approach, and that's where linked data standards come in. I will maybe skip this a bit. These are a few technology mentioning. One maybe important is the DMN. I forgot to include the visual, but it's a visual way of modeling language, modeling rules, so that you can just follow the flow and then take decisions based on the input. And the idea is that we connect both information from the building models and then other information coming on from the web, such as GIS, such as regulations, and then bundle them, feed them to the DMN, and then we get a yes or a no. That's basically the main idea there. And using the ontologies, we can just create small snippets of the building. For example, we focus just on topology, we focus just on products, and depending, and that's the power of the semantic web, depending on the topic, you can just fetch the data that's relevant for your own case. For example, in the idea of local government, they can have their own ontology and apply it and just make it as a tiny part of this entire network of different topics. And the idea is, so these are ontologies that describe the building, we'll have a top-level ontology that describes the building permits, and using this semantic web framework, we can just connect them using a directed graph. Yeah, so that's more or less the flow that we have. We have the different applicants, different authorities, agencies, and then, of course, other parties. Because we're a federated framework, other parties can just hook in and then say, okay, I want to protest against this regulation and I want to approve this, because it's also very relevant that it's not imposed top-down, but that other people can also just do their, say what they want to say. So that's also a very big plus of using the web as the main infrastructure, that we can just allow this network to exist. Currently, DigiChecks has a user interface with a few demo cases, so we don't really focus on particular, or the project doesn't have these specific permits that it wants to check, but we have, of course, some demo cases. For example, there is one case about bat migrations, which was taken to just show how the framework works. We have different people. For example, this here, the ecologist is logged in. That's the person who checks the rules against the building models. Yeah, so all the main message that we want to show with this this user interface is that all this complexity that I've been telling about ontologies and data models, it can all be hidden behind a framework. So in fact, you don't really know that this whole ontological data model works under the hood, which is very important to get people on board, because you want a visual interface. You want people to work with your data models and with your interfaces without them needing to find JSON snippets and code and everything. So it's very important to hide all the complexity behind a sleek interface. So that's why also a lot of effort goes into this user interface. Yeah, that's a sudden sudden go to the next one. So sorry, thanks. Yeah, the questions will follow later.
Thank you. I prefer. Hi, I am Maite Toscano from the OGC. I will present Check. Check is another sister project to Accord and DigiCheck. A chain toolkit for digital building permit is the name, but all people call it Check. This is our Horizon Innovation Actions that have 3 years of durations and started at the October of 2022 and finish at the middle of the next year. So we are in the first part of the project. We work together with 18 partners from different covers, from like research, developers, designer, architecture, municipality, and standardization organizations. We come from 12 countries in Europe. We are working our main goal is take away barriers from municipality to adopt digital building permit. So we try to help to the municipality to start the process to digital building permits. We try to do about 3 main aims. The first one is innovation in a methodology for digitalizations building permits and automatic the check. As well, develop a digital building process working with new technologies, with data exchange based on standards. Another aim is very important is to give to the municipality skills, prepare them to the digital building process. So we trying to make some course and learning material for them. We have 4 demonstration sites. The first one is in Lisbon, Portugal. It's a building in an empty plot, so it's a new building, new constructions that the use will be for residential and commercial use. The other is Villanova da Gaia, is a medium town in front of Porto, Portugal. In this case, we working with that is a new constructions for residential single house. We working as well with another municipality, as Colipiceno from Italy, where there are urban renovations. So it's another case because it's a demolition of all buildings, and it's a new construction there. So the use for this new building is residential, service, and commercial. The last one is in Praga. It's a public school, so the use is from education use, and it's a new construction. So we try to make different use types of process. So because the idea is working with all the possibility for make a digital building permit from all this use case. I think that this graph is very important because summarize all the projects. We try to get solution to 5 issues. The one is the heterogeneous documentation. All the municipalities have the different digital permits, and there are no really good documentation. They are in different ways, so this is a very issue. Another is there are no interoperability in the process. So each municipality working with different formats, and is not a good interoperability between GIS and BIM models. Other is not all municipalities have the same skills, because there are a lot of little municipality with people that are working in different municipalities, so are not really good skill in digital building permits and new technology. As well, the technology is very fragmented. It's very not aligned one and to other. At the same time, we have a lot of the municipality type. We have a diversity of municipalities, so trying to make a process that adapt to all the realities is very difficult. So for each issue, we're trying to get one objective. The first is working with a novel digital building permit that make the join all the documentations and very well documented. Other is working with interoperability within these 2 words, BIM and GIS. Give a skill, training, preparing training material, university course, wikis, and so on for own skill to the municipality. Trying to align and integrate different technologies. And the last objective is working in scalability of the solutions. Each objective is produce one result or outcomes from the project. For example, from the scalability, we have modular web software at the end. We have a demonstration scalable digital building permit. We have a best practice from the standardization part. When we try to align the technology, we try to output it working with regulations checking tools. We tried as well to multi-level training to skill the municipality. So we will provide short course and course in the university from technology from different aspects. And finally, we can working with more standardization part between GIs and BIM worlds. I think it's very interesting to know how much we produce in checks, because there are a lot of tools that check will provide to the community, and it's very interesting to present them shortly everyone's, but you can see all these tools in the website of the project, because they are all open source and they are connecting with the GitHubs and repository from the project. One of the main is a BIM Service Center. That are a framework that all the municipality can connect in, looking the building permits, and developer go to access to BIM Server Center. This is connecting with the API. That is another output the project, one API REST to connecting with BIM Server Center the models. Other is open BIM site that define initial condition from the municipality, so trying to get the condition that the municipality, the requirement that the municipality have in the building permit process, and as well OGC data exchange toolkit. That is a work that OGC provide to trying to validation the human machine readable format. I'm working with the OGC Rainbow. This is a repository for semantic terms that we use to working with semantic aspects. As well, Open BIM Accessibility is another tool to verify the accessibility from the BIM and IFC models. Other interesting tool is the IFC digital signature that provide methods that you sign the files. Be sure that you are signed validate in this way. Is compliant. Other tool that we are working in CP Urban, that is a free tool, urban planning to compliance BIM model and checking against municipality law. Other is a FES exported that all the municipality can define like a profile. This tool allows that all the exports come with this profile of format. Other interesting tool is our georeferencing FC that you can select in the map and put your model in the correct site or place. Other is a transformer that transformer if FC fields to CTGMLs, and other is CTGML to if format. So these are converts in both directions. And another is a viewer that you can combine different format from BIM models and CTGML model, and you can see in this viewer. Verified 3D is a kind of rules that you can check the integrity of the model. One plugin from CTJSON to Revit is in the designer side that integrates CTJSON with Revit, and the architect designer can work with this kind of files. Other viewer is a VTMap. There are another provider that can you see 3D buildings in this viewer. Another very interesting tool that provides check is a check change virtual assistant. This is a system where the municipality can ask about the process, how is the maturity of the process. So you can define the process like a normal test, and they make a flow, and they validate again the maturity model. So you can see how much strong is your digital building permit currently. You can get a better solution to get better process. So it's a very interesting tool. We can try to be more efficient in the process. This is a mistake. It's at least 16%. Yes, we're trying to do this process as well more faster. Higher value of human work, because there are a lot of tools that you can use and grow up together. Of course, the finality is obtain fair task shares, because there are a process from all the people where you can see all the tasks from the beginning. And as well an scalable solution, because we're trying to do a process that you can use in different municipality. It's an scalable for different municipality and solutions. As well, made the process more transparent and predictable. So it's a good point as well. As well, we're trying to higher quality of the check-in and digitalizing the process. So when you manage the process in remote, online, in the computer, you produce less CO2, because you are less pollution, because you do not go to the different and visit the place. So it's a good for the world. And as well, you can save more paper and have more efficient the construction generate data. So the project trying to make a more sustainable place, because it's a great efficiency about the planning and construction buildings, and trying to automate the very efficient, made the resource more efficient, and reducing time consuming from the people that are working there. So, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Henk Visser. I work for Delft University of Technology, and I will present something about a project on digital building logbooks with certain functionalities. The session is about building permits and digital building logbooks. So far, I heard a lot of things about automation, about data, but not so much about the word digital building logbook. And maybe it's a bit a vague, unclear phenomenon. In the afternoon, we have another session which really focuses on various projects with digital building logbooks. I will say something about this project where we also test certain functions, but I try also maybe a little bit to interpret the digital building permit checking with digital building logbooks, because I'm wondering a bit like, do you also think about storing the data for more functionalities? Huh? Because I think that's the core of the idea of the digital building logbooks, to find a way of how do we define data of buildings so we can use it for more functionalities. And of course, in the beginning of the lifespan of a building, there is a clear functionality because it has to meet regulations. So we have to design it in a good way. We have to check the regulations. and that's it. I heard something about also, you mentioned like it will be also useful for all over the lifespan. But then I think, yeah, we still have a long way to go to to agree on how we use the data, how we define the data, and how we store it, and then the functionalities of checking it with regulations. Yeah, I think it's probably very complex. I studied regulations a long time ago, and more looking at the systems, and what I remember is the big variety over countries. In the way the building codes are built up, the reference to standards. Okay, now I go to our project, which is called Demo B-Log. In the afternoon, there will be more, a broader presentation by my colleague Sun Ah. She also made this first slides that I will show you here. Our project is about a development and demonstration of digital building logbooks. Yeah, and it's not also for all kind of functionalities, but quite specific. These are our partners. I'm not going to mention it. 14 partners, 5 countries, and maybe many of them are familiar to you. I don't know. We have 5 tools that already existed, that already had users, and the project starts with the idea that the European Union wants to. The European Commission wants to advocate that we store our data more in the same way for many functionalities. And there are kind of policy documents that say like how should it be. And there have been also studies directly for the European Commission on thinking about like how data should be formulated and in what way it should be used. But our project started with some tools that were already existing and that you could see as also a form of a digital building logbook. So already with 4.5 million registered units in 5 countries also, and it has various functionalities. But I must say the most attention goes to the functionality of renovating buildings, existing buildings, and then actually also the focus is on housing, so it's on decarbonization strategies. Actually, it mostly starts with EPCs, energy performance certificates. Mostly they are nowadays still made by a certified certifier. They make an EPC and then that's that. Then you know like this is the rating of my building. But then, in some countries they also give advice. But in these projects, mostly it's about the data of the EPC will be stored and also will have function for other users over the lifespan. Maybe contractors can make offers based on this data, and if a building is sold to another owner, then the data goes with the building, and and also improvements can be stored. So that's the core of what is in most of these projects. So these are the different tools. It's the Woningpas in Belgium that already has a good functionality with a strong push by the government in Flanders. Clea in France, Chimney in the UK, the CAPSA tool from Germany, and Sirdax, the last tool I must say is mainly on data on building materials for the circularity approach. So these tools are kind of similar but have different functions. Also the data is stored in a different way. I'm not going to explain this all in detail, that would be going too far. In the afternoon we have another presentation, so I'm pretty sure that you all will also go to that meeting, so I don't have to do that here. So here is a bit more explained on the functionalities of these different tools. And in the project, the idea is to test the functionality as they have, but they also want to expand the functionalities. For instance, the Flanders Woningpas nowadays is still used for individual homeowners, but they also want to see what is the functionality more on a neighborhood approach. How can you use that data and collaborate with more building owners to develop something. And so all these tools have different development goals. For instance, in the CAPSA tool, there's also very much on how to collect the data in an efficient way that is more trustworthy data and store it in a good way to be used better. So now I keep it very simple in this way for digital, for Demo B-Log, but in the afternoon we're going to talk more about it. And of course in the discussion afterwards I'm happy to discuss it with you. Thank you.
So can you hear me? Yeah, perfect. So hello everyone here in the room. Hello everyone online. So my name is Judith Faut. And I have the great honor to present you two projects or give you two presentations today. The first one is on the UNet for DPP. And the second one is about my Marie Curie project I have at the University of Cambridge. So, but we start with UNet for DPP, which is the European network for digital building permits. And we thought it might be interesting for the audience here to get some insights what we are doing there, and and also as an invitation to join us for sure. So we are a network. I think we are now about like 130 members, and which has some, let's say, challenges on what we discovered, which is the need for intellectual collaboration, multidisciplinary collaboration. We have to cover high diversity in the field. This is everything we heard about already and what the Horizon Europe projects try to cover. So we started this network in 2020 with the mission to accelerate digital transformation. So in the meantime, as you noticed, there are some projects going on, but it's still, I think it's still important to have a bigger network where we can also exchange the different project studies, but also not just the big ones, also smaller ones, or maybe PhD studies and so on, also to collaborate with the industry and interested people there. So we also have some principles. I think you can also find everything on the website, just to mention a few, which is probably the already mentioned commitment to share, the commitment to openness, to be collaborative, and to be ethic, practical, innovative and competent. And this is already a little outdated, so we also have a few more members now, but we have a quite huge network with different companies, universities, not just in Europe, but also beyond. We also have just a municipality from Canada just joined us recently. But what we do in practice, so what are our activities? So we have quarterly meetings where we share what we are doing at the moment, to give some talks sometimes, so that we are like a moderated session, that we introduce our project updates, and maybe also very specific country-specific updates. I think this was the one from Estonia, if I remember correctly. But we also have like smaller working groups within the network where we write papers together. So this one was a state-of-the-art review on the progress on digital building permitting, where we had a very extensive literature review. But we also had some work on a taxonomy, so that we are trying to clarify what different terms in building permitting actually means, so how to describe building permit systems on a kind of higher level. And then we are still working on a building permit maturity model, which was also, I don't know, I think remember in 2021, so one of the first work, so that we need something to assess the maturity of different building permit systems, and also towards the digitalization of it. And this is a study which was recently published, like last week actually, so about European building permit process analysis in in a detailed way, let's say. So we have either for this journal article, we have 17 countries in a kind of table format analyzed, so what processes are happening in which country to get a better understanding and a kind of a basic work, to work on top of it. And with a bigger report where we also present PPMN diagrams, how processes work in different countries and so on. It's about to be published soon, and this already even covers 19 countries in Europe, not just in the EU, it's also beyond. Other activities are also related to congresses and conferences. For example, we are a close partner to the BDGA. And we also had usually some proceedings when we had a workshop in 2021, which was online due to Corona or COVID. But we had this year in Barcelona in April our first in-person conference on digital building permitting with 120 participants, which was really nice and enjoyable that you meet so many like-minded persons. You can also read the proceedings. So we collected extended abstracts from the scientific parts, but also smaller abstract from the industry partners. And to come to some conclusions, and we were asked this question: how do you contribute to the sustainable built environment with your project? I mean, that's not a comparable projects to the Horizon projects we have seen before, but I think having such a network, including that we need some way to work multidisciplinary and intersectoral, to have come to a common framework and harmonize the results, find collaborators and so on. I think it's also an important part of what we need to do, and maybe that's the way how we contribute to that. So this is for the network. And we can of course chat later, and you're also very welcome to join if you feel related to the topic or if you are interested in general. So now I continue with my own project, and it's I will first of all explain the acronym. So it's a Marie Curie Action funded project, and the project or the initiative, it's called Digital Roads of the Future, so DRF, which I explain in the next slide, just to get you first heads up. So my research focus is just about planning and building permitting. So, and from there, so I don't do anything else actually. So, but from there, I'm looking in different directions. So what methods can I use for this topic? Which methods or theories can I apply for building permitting? So ontologies, where we'll talk tomorrow in the afternoon session about, but also decision support systems. But I'm also interested in social sciences and on organizational sciences and so on, just to give you an idea what's my view. And to explain the project, so I am a Marie Curie postdoctoral fellow at the University of Cambridge, and this Marie Curie Fund is a co-fund, so which means the University of Cambridge received funding from the European Union as a Marie Curie action, and they, so let's say, they hire multiple postdocs for this Future Roads program, so that's the name. And this is funded, the co-fund is organized that they receive funding from the European Commission, partly, and the other part is covered by many industry partners in the UK. They are mainly based in the UK, but also internationally. So, and the university advertised in different cohorts, different challenges, and I applied for the challenges for digital twins, which was how can digital road digital twins generate value from connecting areas. So, and the title of my project is Advanced Planning and Building Permits for Road Digital Twins, but I do not mean permits for roads. I I remain faithfully to the building permits, but I know it's a little abstract, but it's basically a very simple idea. So if we imagine we have roads and we have cities and buildings where we need permits for, like building permits for buildings, but maybe we have the information already in roads, and maybe in future road digital twins, what my colleagues are working for, maybe we can use this information which we already have for the building permit part in different stages and different stakeholders and so on, and maybe even vice versa, so that we have other data flow, let's say. And the objective is to link those two domains I have explained, to reuse information as a kind of a case study. I think roads can be just one part of it, and also to leverage the connection to generate value for both. So just a quick overview of my project. So I have the work package 1, which is where I define those information, like which information actually is they both domains share, let's say. Then I also think about how to manage the knowledge I gathered here, and what is the uncertainty in the process, which I maybe even to solve a little bit or get some awareness and understanding. And it also, this co-fund especially is also meant to be, to end or to think about business cases at the end. For the work package 1, so I need to define those information packages, I call them, so I need to collect data and so on. I will talk about it in a second. But maybe you wonder what kind of information packages could be, so what information they actually share. So I just have just a short list, let's say, and it's very, very diverse and complex, I would say. So it could, like, let's say, the plot, the address, so the physical location, the geographical information, probably it's the same. So, and then you also need to understand, is it to what and what point, the accessibility of the plot, for example, in Canada, you actually need a permit for the special place where you can enter the plot, for example, but also maybe for documentation, like a logbook maybe, and maybe not just for buildings, maybe also for other infrastructure projects. So you can use it as where you can document the usage right to enter a road. Maybe it's a private road and you have special rights to use it. But also the participation of specific agencies, maybe transport specialists, either external or maybe specialists within the municipality. So what I'm doing right now is to gather a lot of information and data. So through qualitative data, I did in first place. So I do interviews and workshops. With the workshops I do with planning people. So this is, but also with people which are like specialists in building regulations, but also with people, specialists in the road part. And you can imagine, it's always the same topic, but you get totally different answers if you talk to them, which is interesting, but it makes it even more complex. But I also do a lot of interviews with municipality in different countries in the world. So I conducted interviews in the UK, but also in New Zealand, in Canada, so not just a European level to get a real broad view, let's say. Maybe I can even add one or two more countries. And what the information I want to gather is, of course, about regulations or requirements from regulations and design, but also institutional requirements from the municipality. So what are specific information or data they need in the municipality? And I like to cover like the information level, so what is the actual information, but what's the process, so the different stages within the building life cycle. Do I need the specific information, but also who is involved, so who needs that information at what time, and but also, of course, I need to connect it to the regulation they exist. So this is what I have done, or I'm still doing, I have been doing, for the work package 2, it's probably about the development of an ontology. So this also I'll talk a little bit more tomorrow later. So my colleague, for example, he is developing in the same Marie Curie co-fund an ontology for road digital twins. And now we are thinking about how we can connect both ontologies to query them, but so let's say cross-domain wise. But it's also, as I mentioned, the uncertainty. It's so the goal is to get a more like a decision model which is also resilient, flexible, scalable, and maybe even able to accommodate the unknown case. So this is why we aim, or I aim to cover not just like to get the broader view, let's say. And as I mentioned already, so this is also meant to be that we think about business cases, so how we can put this research into real cases, real world cases. This is also the reason why we have those funders and the industry partners. And I just put here like a very simple example. So if we would have like a database, maybe a kind of a logbook, maybe something else, maybe a service within the municipality. So, and we would be able to query such a system for maybe just bits of information which we need for the application form, if you think about the submission phase, or maybe query like 10, or maybe charge £10 for this specific information request. If we consider we have like 300,000 permits per year in England, so maybe this is some money we could use for road maintenance, or maybe even for the maintenance of the digital twin of the roads or other facilities. So coming back to the sustainability aspect of this workshop, we were asked how do you contribute to a sustainable built environment with your project. I think it's I think it's more or less the same what we already heard, and so that I think it's like the data sharing point, and to think about to reuse the information we already have, so that it's not redundant, and things like that is very important. Maybe not just reusing materials and so on, and circularity, which is also important for sure, but maybe we can think about to reuse data as well. As you also mentioned, Henk, with the EPCs, for example, is also a good example for this. And to what SDGs, Sustainability Development Goals, your project contributes to. And in my understanding, those are like the most obvious ones, in the correct order, I would say. So 11 sustainable cities and communities, 7 affordable and clean energy, because also building permits and the regulations regulates that as well. And also if you think about, I don't know, photovoltaic systems on the roof and so on, we probably also need facilities to put them somewhere. So I think there's a connection at least. But as my project is also an infrastructure project, let's say partly, of course this is also something we can consider. And I think that's it. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, so now we close the presentation time. Not yet break, I'm sorry, but it's a great opportunity for questions. So I would like to invite the speakers if they could come here and sit here. We have a colleague online, Pedro Meda. Hi, Pedro. Thank you for supporting us. So if you would like to send questions online, Pedro will inform us, and we can also put these questions to our speakers. So, oh, I'm trapped. Okay. Is there, it's okay. Let's take Thank you. you. Sorry for that. Thank you. Okay, so I would open the floor first for the audience here. So we have quite interesting presentations about digital building permits and logbooks. We have already a question. Thank you.
My name is Pablo. I work in the DigiChecks project with Jeroen. And the question is for Hans, because one thing that in our project was critical was privacy, okay? Even in digital building permits. So I guess for digital building logbooks, privacy must be something critical. So can you explain something about what is the scope of?
No, sure, yeah, we can use this. No, that's a very good question. I think that's key in that project also. Like, who is the owner of the data? And it's mainly the homeowner, of course. But if you want to use the data for more functionalities for providers, you have to find a way to also provide this data in a safe way to other users. And I cannot explain very detailed, like in all the cases, how this is dealt with, but it is clear option. Yeah, maybe Suna, she is working in the project and knows more on the details.
Yeah,
give examples, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe I can elaborate.
Yeah.
We sort of leave it up to our partners on how they would operate individually. But in the case of Woning Pass, for example, the users have the option to grant access to third parties. So perhaps if there is a study that's going on, they'll get a notification that there is this study going on. Would you like to share your data? And then they can click on yes or no. So that's also one way of giving the homeowners or the individual normal people the right over their own data. And in the case of the functionality that we're working with in the project, which is the neighborhood initiatives, then they will also be invited to the available projects that are in their neighborhoods, and then after consultations, if they say, okay, let's go with, we want to participate in this project, then they will have to provide that access to data to the project initiators, for example. So it's actually quite. I think the approach that they take is quite straightforward. Yeah, and it could be an example of how we can solve data privacy issues.
Okay, so any other questions? Oh.
Hello, I'm Caterina Calefato. I'm working with Domina. It is in Italy, and we work in the manufacturing and textile field with Horizon projects. And I recognize that there is a sort of trend in trying to collect data in order to provide tools and frameworks to deliver compliance check, digital compliance check. And it is similar to what we are doing in the manufacturing for the certification processes. So the effort to collect data for traceability, to check and provide certification in a double way, auto-certification if you are not connected with a certification body, or a certification by digitalization. I would like to know if also for the building sectors you are wondering to address the APR and this type of European normative that are will be applied first for the textile. The APR is the extended product responsibility in order to collect data to allow producer to include the cost of dismantling and recovery of materials for the circular economy. It will be applied to textile from 2026, and we are all trying to identify digital registry, and I noticed this type of similarities very interesting with different aims, and I would like to know if you have to address APR or digital product passport regulations also for the building sectors. I don't know.
For who is the question? For anyone who has a feeling to answer on it. Yeah, okay, I can start up with, as far as I know, what is relevant. In the field that we are studying, what is now quite relevant in terms of regulations and policies, you know, we have the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. The next version of it is already approved, but it has to be implemented, and that will also have the obligation for member states to facilitate renovation passports. Yeah, so that is a kind of first step. Huh? It doesn't say everybody needs to have it, but governments have to facilitate that within a country this exists. And maybe you have also some responses.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how it goes, but I think the Commission is still thinking about this reuse of building materials as well. So there will be some demands on that side, and that will also require some kind of a database of existing building materials that you can reuse, and how to certify those that they are really usable for new construction. But it's still like something that will be in the future. Yes.
Next time we pave the way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but it sounds really similar to manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just one moment, because Pedro, our colleague, he sent me an answer as well. Let's see if it works. One moment.
DPPs are mandatory in the construction product regulation, the new version. So DPPs will apply to construction. There are already standards on the data structures for DPPs, that is the data templates. And regarding the extended responsibility, it's very difficult because there are some products that remain as products and others that are mixed.
Voila.
I also think like the processes, like as you said, like the compliance checking process. I think that's also maybe something worth, that's also something worth looking into from a process perspective. Yeah, I think maybe we can chat later about this. Yes, sounds great. Mm-hmm.
Perhaps I can also quickly elaborate on it.
Is there another question or is it topic?
A new norm based on a data template, which is called the PCDS, Product Circularity Data Sheet. That's something that was built in Luxembourg. So, and I think it's coming as an ISO. I'm not sure, but I think there are work on that. So you can check PCDS.
Well, I am also from TU Delft, and I did my PhD actually on this very topic, on circularity and digitalization. So this is a really difficult question to answer because there are multiple terminology going on, like building passports, renovation passports, material passports, DPPs, and data sheets, etc. And also buildings are quite complex. For example, DPPs perhaps are quite understandable because at the product level, when you look at the building, it has multiple layers. You have the structure, components, within components you have multiple materials, you have existing buildings, new buildings. So this is quite complex. I think in the next few months we will be working on it to simplify the terminology, what we really require. And also we studied what is needed actually in terms of data when you want to reuse materials from the existing stock. So this is different than the new buildings. So you need inspection and experts to go there to really check whether they are strong enough or,
I perfectly agree also because textiles are very composite.
Yeah.
Because when you have to recycle, the sorting phase and the dismantling phase is very complex due to natural fibers, technical fibers, and other accessories that are not easy to be managed. The real difference in this type, let's say, of mess of regulation names and protocols is that textile is called to address it. And it will be one of the first manufacturing sectors, and so there is a sort of rush of software providers in offering this type of solution, and also of research companies in apply to research projects to have a better insights on the data model and data structure. But we are called to address very soon. And I think that the other sector can have benefits of seeing what the other are doing, but the trend is the same. I was really impressed by this fact that there is this type of trend that you can manage with the time of understanding well what is needed, what is the right labeling, the right certificate. But there is a lot of similarities. We are just in a hurry with the textile.
Just to complement, Pedro is saying that for textiles, this is much more complex to do logistics and transformation. So this is his addings on this.
Thank you. Just to add a little bit about this discussion. Okay, I'm Eduard Loskos. I'm the president of the Building Digital Twin Association. Okay, and I'm also the convener of the Working Group 9 of Digital Twins in the Built Environment in CEN, which is a Working Group 9. Okay, and just recently, I think it's 2 weeks ago, was created a new working group inside of the Technical Committee for FO2, okay, from CEN, which is, let's say, the people who has created all the ISO from 19650, okay, so all the series for the implementation of BIM. And this new working group, which is the 12th, is focusing on digital in digital product passports applied to construction. Okay, so it's just the creation was approved recently, and there is not okay, but the convener is Espen from Norway, okay, from CoBuilder. So
it's expected for the
yeah, of course, and as BDTA, it's something that we have always, let's say, trying to get a close link with what is being developed, okay, because I think it's like with the digital logbooks, okay, it's something, or the digital building permit is something that we need to feed up upon this, okay, so I'm trying to connect all this, which is much easier to say than to do. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so, yeah, okay.
Hello, thank you for the presentation, it was very informative. Almost all of you have said or that you are working on new ontologies for all of your projects, yeah? And the topic is the same, yeah, it's building permit. So my question is, are you intended to go to connect those ontologies, and it is feasible?
Yeah, I think you really have to join tomorrow's afternoon session, which is exactly about this topic. So yeah, so there are also, again, Jeroen and me, we will also present something also about the alignment, and also the BDTA, they are also keen to develop a catalog so that, especially for this purpose, to understand first of all, so what ontology exists, and in the second step, so also to get to align them. But like from my perspective, I also worked on other projects or like collaborations where we also try to align different ontologies which exist in building permitting, and like build up an alignment for those ontologies to cover a bigger part of the process, let's say. Yeah, so this is, we really join tomorrow's afternoon session.
Okay, so well, I reiterate my request for online people if they want to ask us anything. For now, we don't have any questions online, but I would like to ask you, after the project, when it's finished, how do you see it? I understand it's a very complex environment. Do you see this is something for the national governments to take on board and push this? Is it something that a private company should do it. How do you see this partnership and how do you see it's moving on? Perhaps Estonia, Finland have already a model, some examples. How do you see this?
Yeah, well, I explained in my presentation that one of the key topics that has kind of helped us move forward is this regulatory push that is coming 2026. And it's interesting to see how fast we can learn, how fast can designers learn to design in a structured way. But definitely I think there has to be a regulatory push. But it's a great challenge for the designers, but also for the municipalities. They also need to learn how to read those IFCs and designs in a structured form and all that. But I think it's needed. But of course you need to add also upskilling and research and development projects and if possible some funding also for municipalities, because it's a big effort to get all the software needed and the kind of expertise that has to be there. Yeah.
Can I also add something? A historical review. We just started talking. She knew some of my work, maybe from. Well, I finished my PhD in 2000, so I did quite some research on the development of building permits and how they are controlled and the quality of it, and also some international comparison. By then, the end result was, recommendations in my PhD were like things should probably be more privatized, because then you make more use of the expertise. And municipalities mostly have limited expertise. So more privatization, but also more streamlining of checking procedures. And there were already some first examples of some engineering companies that did some checks on some topics. So that was very promising. And also the government responded by that, like, okay, let's go this way to make it also more possible for private organizations to do building permit checks, and that would go along with other regulations, that it would be more like kind of quality assurance than just saying like, okay, we have no obligations for you to build anymore, because that was more the normal process. If you get a building permit, it doesn't give you any quality assurance. It just says like, okay, you have a kind of green light, you can go ahead. Municipalities don't bear responsibilities, mostly not. If it goes into private hands, it's going to be very different. So, but that was more or less. We're going to discuss this later. So, 24 years ago, then they started already with developments like making a new law. Well, it was implemented, I think now 1 year ago, 2 years ago, the law on quality or private quality assurance, which is a better funding for these kind of developments, I think. It even falls, as far as I know, has the obligation that for building applications, for a building permit, the data has to be submitted to the municipality, and they can store it also for multi-purpose things. So that's a very good thing. But I just wanted to say, like, things can take a long time. And it's also very, when it's a building permit, it's a public responsibility, and it's also politically sensitive topic. So through the years I saw like there were governments that really wanted to push it, and then other governments say like, no, this is responsibility of municipalities, don't go on with that. So that made it a very long and slow development. The big thing now, of course, is that data availability and tools, that is very different than 20 years ago. So everybody can now much more understand the advantage of going to more digitalization, etc. By then it was seen as a kind of extra burden and a long way for development. So yeah, probably there are good prospects for these developments. Still, and it's also in all your projects, you have for all these different types of buildings or roads or whatever, there's a huge differences. There's many things that have to be checked in the building permit. It's not just building regulations, but all kind of demolition and whatever, maybe some nature regulations, planning things, and then other authorities come into place. And then per country, it's also very different. Although UK is not part of the European Union, but within the European Union, I think there's not much harmonized. Maybe only on the level of building or product level and standards. That's getting more. Now we have Euro codes, etc. So that's the way you calculate things. That is much more harmonized, which it doesn't mean that it's easily to check all the regulations. One last thing that I remember is fire safety. That was such a very complex thing. The strategies are very, very different. Well, okay, I end my story here. We kind of talk later.
Yes, I think another aspect very important is after the project finish, standardization continues. So it's interesting to know that in this project, Building Smart and OGC are working together in work in Geo and BIM group. So they are, as a result, some working process group that made a standard to connect them these two worlds. So as an organization from a standard, we are not working alone. We are working with a lot of members from different sector, university, building, company, and so on. So I think this is very interesting how the process continues, and we will work in standardization the sector together. So.
Yeah, maybe just like adding, I think you had really, really good points, and I think we need more tools for designers to let them do the code compliance checking. You are right, the municipality, the building control, they don't have time to do all the checks, even though they would have like these tools. I think it's more relevant for the designers to do this kind of pre-checking. At least in Finland, they are responsible for the design.
Yeah, but it should go along with very good quality assurance, huh? That you can rely on it.
Yes, exactly, and this is really important. Yeah. Do you?
Yeah. To hook into that, I think it could be the same tool. If it's just a service somewhere on the web, then either the designer could do it, then it could issue a certificate. If it's digitally signed, then they could go to the government and say, we did a pre-check. These would be the steps that already have been checked, and there would be a quality assurance if this service is recognized by both the government and the designer or the engineer or anyone. So using this like two-way quality assurance or two-way service recognition, then I think it doesn't really matter who does it. If it's a service that's recognized, that is capable of issuing the certificates, then you could do a pre-check as a designer, and maybe it says you need this and this information still, and before submitting to the government, they could enrich their model, and then when they have the certificate, they could just go and say, okay, we have this, and this could be a private partner, but it could also be a governmental service, depending on the certificate to be checked.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a good point. And in Estonia, of course, it's a small country, but at the moment you can do these checks like free of charge. So this is really great. They only have like one building permit service, and you can run checks there for free.
Great. So we are heading now to the end of the session. Is there any burning questions still? No? Okay, great. So I would like to thank our speakers. Thank you for the audience. I would like to remind you that there is a second part of this workshop. So we will be working together on Mirror, on the sustainable goals and digital building permits and logbooks. So please come back after the break. We will be back at 11. So thank you very much. Thank you.